Typography in UI UX is not just picking a font and placing text on a screen. It starts communicating before the user even reads anything. Before they click, scroll, or process the layout, typography is already doing the work. It sets the tone, it shapes readability, it tells users what matters and where attention should go. That is why typography is not just visual styling, it is communication. Typography in UI UX can be broken into three types: sans serif fonts, serif fonts, and decorative fonts. Now let's break everything down, right? So, serif fonts. Serif fonts have those tiny strokes at the end of the letters. They feel classic, elegant, polished, and premium. You will mostly see serif fonts in luxury brands, editorials, fashion, beauty, or anything refined. Say these logos right here, like Rolex, Mercedes Benz, D Decor, Dior. So we all know Mercedes Benz is very premium and luxurious, which is the reason why they opt for serif fonts, right? Now let's go to what's next: sans serif fonts, right? Sans serif fonts are exactly what the name suggests. Sans in French, it means without. So, sans serif fonts means without those extra strokes. These fonts feel clean, modern, minimal, and direct. That is why sans serif fonts are most commonly used in UI UX, be it in apps, dashboards, websites, SaaS products, and mobile interfaces. Mostly rely on sans serif fonts because it is clean, readable, and works best on screens, right? And then we come to decorative fonts. Decorative fonts are great for personality, impact, and bold visuals. In UI UX, decorative fonts need control because they are built for attention, not readability, right? They work for impact, not for like a long form reading. Choosing the right font is only one part of typography. What matters more is how text is structured inside a layout, right? This is where hierarchy creates flow, right? Hierarchy creates flow, creates structure. It tells users what to notice first, what matters most, and what to read next. For example, in this picture, right? It gives content order. You get what I'm saying? Think of a simple website, right? So, what happens here? See this section right here. So, first, user notices the heading, obviously, right? Then the supporting text. Next gives the context, right? Then a smaller paragraph adds clarity. And then finally, we have the CTA button so that the user takes action. Now that's hierarchy. The user moves from headline to context to clarity to action. Now imagine the same layout where everything looks the same, right? The same font size, same weight, spacing, everything same. Now nothing stands out. The heading loses the importance, CTA loses visibility, everything competes for attention. That is when users stop scanning and start struggling, right? And that is exactly what hierarchy solves. It creates flow, it helps the eye move naturally through content in the right order. No confusion, no visual noise, only and only direction. Now let's look at typography hierarchy in action, shall we? And almost every designer or developer out there, they follow all these things religiously. I'm talking with experience, by the way. Headings, right? So it starts from H1, which is the biggest and most important, to H6, which is the smallest heading. And then you have H2, H3, H4, H5. H2, you can use it mostly in section headings, and H3 you can use it as subsection headings, and H4 and H5 are like the middle siblings, You get what I'm saying? Moving forward, we have the paragraph text, right? It's also called the body text. This is your regular context text. the main text users read always, right? So there are, common sizes starting from 24 pixel, 22, 20, 18, 16, 14, 12 pixels. It varies, project to project. But in most UI projects that I've worked on, 14 pixel is like the sweet spot because it saves space, it stays readable, and it keeps layout clean, obviously, right? And then you have button text. Button text usually use smaller but readable text. Most common sizes for button text are like 12 pixel. It works because button text need to be compact, clear, readable, and clickable, right? And then you have the caption text or eyebrow text. These are smaller supporting texts like captions, helper text, labels, and eyebrow headings, usually around 12 pixels or smaller. They also go sometimes to 10 pixels subjectively, according to what the project demands, right? They add context without taking much attention, right? For example, these. And then you have font weight. So what is font weight? So font weight is how thick or thin the text looks. It usually ranges from, as you can see, light, regular, medium, semi-bold, black, bold, right? This helps create emphasis without changing size. Example, the heading is usually bold, the paragraph is regular, caption is light, like we've seen in the previous examples. And then we have font width. Font width is how wide the letters look, right? Fonts can feel narrow, normal, wide, in this context, tight, regular, loose. This affects how compact or spacious text feels. It matters more in branding and headers than regular UI text, right? And then we have line height. Line height is the spacing between lines of text. Common line heights are like 1, which is the tightest, and then 1.4, it is balanced, 1.6, comfortable, 1.8 plus, it's too airy. Like for example, you see right here, there's 1.6, which is the ideal line height. And then we have letter spacing. So letter spacing is the space between, obviously, the characters, like the text, which is there. So we have tight, balanced, wide, as you can see in this picture. It is also commonly used, when you're curating headers, logos, posters, or branding. If you're a graphic designer, it'll all come in handy. Then you have text alignment. So this is how text is, positioned. Like for the left text, it's usually default. And then you have center alignment, it works for headings, hero sections, short text. And then you have, and then right alignment's rare. And it's usually, for the niche, right? And then you have justified, looks neat, reads worse. Then you have contrast and typography. Typography contrast helps users understand priority fast, right? And we've learned about contrast, in our previous videos in the layout and composition sections. If you've not watched those, rewind back and watch them right away. Go. And then we have consistency. Consistency makes typography feel intentional. When headings, paragraphs, buttons, and captions follow one system, the design feels clean, trustworthy, easy to scan, and professional. Random text sizes create chaos. Consistency creates clarity, rhythm, and trust. You would understand consistency better again if you go back, rewind, watch consistency in the layout and composition section. Learn consistency there fast and come back here. Let's go into the final takeaway, right? So to sum it up, we've learned 3 font styles: serif, sans serif, decorative fonts, and then we've learned weight, we've learned spacing. So all these come under the readability bucket. Let's just have it that way. And then we have hierarchy, width, alignment, and then that comes into scannability. And then we have size, line height, contrast, that comes into the bucket of consistency. And you can always go back, watch this video again and again and again, because these are the fundamentals. They are the building blocks to your UI UX design career. Typography is very important. Alright, now I'll see you in the next video. Up next, we have color. It's going to be fun there. Bye bye.